right. And I spoke about this on the show when they had the appeal, and I predicted what the appeal was going to be, because they've been looking for reassurances from the USA before any extradition proceedings might happen. And the reassurance is obviously that he wouldn't be prejudiced because he's not a non-US citizen, and therefore could rely on Article 1 about freedom of speech. And they had this sort of woolly language saying that he would be entitled to seek to rely. Well, that's no good. You need to have an absolute reassurance that they can do that. So it's predictable that he was going to get that appeal, or the right to appeal. But I'm really concerned about the man, because the report that we have is absolutely he's been suffering mental torture whilst he's been in prison. He's obviously, before being at Belmarsh, he was in the Ecuadorian embassy, I think, for 7 years. And it's been a horrendous toll on him. So, Roger, how long do you think the leaders of the major political parties will be able to ignore Julian Assange? Because nobody's speaking up about it.
Well, I think that Julian Assange, and to a certain extent, speaking on his behalf, you'll forgive me, Juan, are kind of past their sell-by date. The freedom of speech kind of journalism that Assange started out with was, of course, quite dramatic and revolutionary, but there are a lot of new people, new bodies, new organizations dealing with freedom of speech today, such as our Free Speech Union here with Toby Young, and other people doing things in a less revolutionary and a far more effective way. And I guess I have to say that Julian has himself to blame for a lot of this and shutting himself away. I think also that the characterization of just about absolutely everything as a war crime removes the ability from a perfectly rational government to defend itself. And so I think the whole narrative has gone rather over the top and is out of date. And to answer your question, I don't think he's going to be mentioned very much, because I don't think he's relevant to politics in this country. What people care about here, I'm not sure about the order, but I think they care about the money in their pocket and taxation. They care about immigration and the Islamization of Britain, the protests in the streets, the rise in crime, the horribly inefficient government, and totally useless opposition that we have, and the just dreadful state of political leaders that we've got. And as one of my followers posted the other day, we have coming up in 4 weeks a choice between stepping in dog muck or cat muck. That's what they're concerned about. They're not concerned about freedom of speech per se at this point. And they certainly aren't concerned about Julian as the principal representative of that, because I think that date has long since passed, and he could have come out and not locked himself away and gone in front of a court. And yeah, people don't even remember what D-Day is. And I wonder how many youngsters who are going to be ruling the world even remember who he is, frankly.
The biggest problem is this, though, Roger, isn't it, is that all of the things that you mentioned absolutely of fundamental importance to the electorate and the British people. But without the right to speak about it, which is the fundamental right of freedom of speech, we'd all be in the dark.
Critically analyzing global affairs, the Muckrakers on today's News Talk, TNT.